I'm joined in the studio now by the voice of the Arkansas State Red Wolves, Matt Stolz. And with this, Matt, we're going to delve into different topics about being a sports broadcaster. But I'd like to start off with your early sports history. And you were born and raised in Texas. So what were some of the teams that really were big influences on you growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I followed all those local sports teams. The Cowboys, I loved the Cowboys back with Aikman and Irvin and Emmitt Smith and those teams that were winning Super Bowls back in the 90s. I was definitely into the Cowboys back then. I will tell you, I'm not nearly as big of a Cowboy fan as I was back then today. But I still follow teams like the Rangers and Mavericks. And as far as my love for sports, it was those teams that I followed, those professional sports teams growing up that really energized my interest in sports and in particular listening to those games on the radio. And I remember as a kid, 7, 8 years old, that's when I fell in love with broadcasting and listening to those Ranger games. We had an old transistor radio that we set on the back porch, and my dad and I would play catch, and we'd have a couple of guys calling the games back then, Mark Holtz and Eric Nadell, and Nadell is actually still there with the Rangers, and he's their longtime play-by-play voice. But I would listen to those Texas Ranger games growing up, and just sitting there in the backyard and remembering how they painted that picture and took me to the ballpark every single night.
You went to college at North Texas. Did you get involved with the local radio station or media department at the university?
Absolutely. When I was listening to those games in the backyard as a kid, I was 8 years old when I decided I wanted to be a sportscaster, and my vision never really changed from that. I was able to keep that vision throughout my childhood and through junior high and high school. And I went to North Texas, which, after studying up on it, I knew it was a good broadcasting school. I knew they had a student radio station. So my first week freshman year, I went to their student radio station there, KNTU, and took up an afternoon shift doing sportscast. And then I got involved more and more through high school broadcasts that they would produce, doing sideline reports for football games, then evolved into color, play-by-play, just learning all different facets of broadcasting, and I was able to do that there in North Texas.
Talking with Matt Stolz from the EAB Red Wolf Sports Network, and you decided to move to Arkansas to get back into radio. You originally had to move into a very small market, too, to get your start. What was that like?
I moved to a town called Mena, Arkansas, out the western part of the state, about 10 miles from the Oklahoma border. Just 7,000 people in the town, and became a news and sports director there. Did a lot of local high school broadcast, and after about a year there, I had a chance to move to Searcy, and I did a morning show there. I broadcasted local high school games, and also did some collegiate events with Harding University there. So that experience I was able to get in my early to mid-20s, and it was invaluable to me.
And then you made the jump to become the voice of the then Arkansas State Indians, now the Arkansas State Red Wolves, and that must have been an exciting moment for you in your career.
It seemed like forever getting to that point to where I was broadcasting at a Division I school, but in actuality, when I took the job back in the fall of 2005, as the voice of the then Indians, I was the youngest FBS football announcer in the country at 27 years old. So I knew I was blessed to get that opportunity, period.
Matt, explain the kind of commitment and research that it takes to broadcast these games throughout the football, basketball, and baseball seasons.
Well, preparation is the key to play-by-play, I think. And, there's a lot of professions. Most professions, require a lot of preparation. But in this specifically, you're right. For a Saturday football game, I'm usually up on Sunday afternoon. after calling a game the night before and beginning my preparation process and putting together charts which are very detailed for the following week. And the main purpose is to try to condense as much information into one spot as possible, to be able to memorize those players and that information, to know not only your team but the opposing team inside and out. That's just something you're going to have to do if you're in this business. Now, I'm a perfectionist, and that's one thing that kind of drives me. I want everything to be just right. That's a good quality to have most times. Sometimes it's going to drive you nuts too, but it's something that is a part of what I'm about, and I think that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That's a quote by John Wooden, the famous UCLA basketball coach, and it's something that I remember when I'm preparing. If you're not preparing, then you're preparing to fail, and that's something that drives me before every game.
And that was Matt Stolz from the EAB Red Wolf Sports Network. Matt, thank you so much for sitting down and spending some time with us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Dave.